Hello, this is Daniel King reporting on Game 4 of the World Chess Championship. If the match caught fire in Game 3, I'm afraid in Game 4 the flames died down again. Game 4 was intriguing rather than thrilling. Let's take a look and see what happened. Both players repeated exactly the moves of Game 2. Let's just see those moves again very quickly. I won't go into huge detail, but it's a semi-Slav. And once again we see the bishop coming out to b4 to deflect the bishop to d2, a worse square. Both players developed their pieces and got castled. And here's the first new move of the match. In game 2, Gelfand played rook c1. This time he tried queen c2. Now he has played this move before against Sokolov, who played h6, and Gelfand ended up winning a very nice game by flinging his knight over to the king's side. Instead of h6, Anand played e5. Gelfand took and now played e4. If white takes on e5, that liberates black's pieces and shouldn't have any problem. But with e4 you can see that white prepares to bring the rooks into the middle. So white has very free development, easy development, whereas black has this knight blocking his pieces on the queen side. So there's no doubt that black is trying to equalize this position, but it's very tense indeed. Okay, Anand exchanged pawns in the middle of the board. He'd obviously prepared this very well at home. I think both players had. Anand was moving very quickly indeed. And this is the first really important moment in the game. This has been seen in several games before. Nothing really convincing for white here. I think the problem is that if white captures the pawn straight away, black has bishop e5 followed by taking on d5, has no difficulties at all. So Gelfand played h3 to prevent the bishop coming out to g4 and hoping just to collect that pawn in due course. So first of all he's bringing his rook into the middle. Anand simply started developing his rooks, wasn't too fussed. So he's a pawn down, but he's very well coordinated indeed. I think white's problem is this queen is rather out of play on b1. Anand was very cool indeed. He played h6, so that means that now his knight is ready to take on d5 and he doesn't have to worry about bishop takes h7 check. Gelfand played knight f5 to collect the two bishops. That's fair enough. And at first I thought that white should be doing pretty well here. He has the two bishops. But as Gelfand said after the game, optically white is better, but the pieces aren't coordinated well. I only get the bishop on to f3 right at the end of the game after exchanging pieces. Yes, if the bishop can get to f3, white's doing very well, but it's impossible at the moment to get it there. And the queen is rather out of play on b1. Also the bishop on d2 isn't great. So it's hard for white to make anything of these two bishops. Nevertheless, Anand still has to collect this pawn. Well, he can do that in a moment. Rook e1. Anand traded in a moment, excuse me. He took on d5 first. After bishop c3, he traded on e1. Good move. If bishop e1, then of course there's a trick, and that wins the queen on d1. So Gelfand had to play rook e1. And now a good move from Anand. He played bishop c5. So he's starting to get a little bit of pressure on this f2 pawn using the dark squares well, and also looking perhaps to play bishop d4 to nullify white's bishops. Now white could take on f6 here, and of course queen f6 isn't possible because of mate. So Anand, yeah, let's just see that to the end. There we go, rook takes bishop. So Anand would have had to have recapture with the g pawn. Now I know this looks rather scary to shatter the pawns like this, but in fact black's rook is coming down to d2 to hit f2 very quickly, and in fact white can make nothing of this, and black is absolutely fine. Rook d2, queen d4, black is fine. So Gelfand instead played queen c2. And now here afterwards Anand said he thought he perhaps should have played queen b6 and only then bishop d4. He played bishop d4 straight away, which looks fine, but Gelfand found an intriguing idea to play queen c8. Looks a bit odd. The idea is that black has problems in this endgame. Suddenly the bishop has found a decent diagonal. Anand played g6, which, okay, gives his king some room, and now bishop g4. This is the point. The bishop is coming round to this important diagonal. If knight takes bishop, of course, rook e8 wins the queen. So Anand played h5 instead. Gelfand took and brought the bishop to this excellent diagonal. So, although pieces have been exchanged, Gelfand has a little something here because he has a stronger minor piece than black. Nevertheless, symmetrical pawns, very difficult for white to make anything of this. Excuse me, I leapt ahead a bit there. Rook c1 was played, threatening rook c6, rook d6 covering. And now Gelfand brought his king into the middle. Now a5, good move. That means that these pawns are nicely protected on a black square away from the bishop. Now it's critical if white plays rook c6. I think the point is, after this exchange, whose king is going to get to the queen side first? If white can get there, obviously he's doing very well, but in fact black's king gets there first. He doesn't have any difficulties at all. There's actually a nice defensive setup for black. Of course he can play king c5 to block out white's king, but knight d5 is a useful technique. The point is that you can see that white's king simply is locked out of the queen side, and black's king can just wander over here and shut out white's king, no problem at all. So that's another way to draw. Okay, instead Gelfand played king e2, Anand played a good move, knight d5. Well, the rook and pawn ending is nothing for white. Gelfand tried g3 and now knight e7, and Anand said after the game he felt he was absolutely fine now. And after these moves, oh, by the way, of course, that was bishop e4 is to prevent the knight coming to d4. After these moves, actually the game was agreed drawn. Gelfand said afterwards he could think of no way to make progress. Let's just continue it on a little bit. Let's try this. Now rook c7, king comes to f6, now rook b7, but here black can simply wait. Or you could play g5, but white really can't do anything. The point is the king cannot reach the queen side, and that means there are no real targets. There's only one weakness, and black has that securely defended. So another tense game. I think Anand will be very happy today because he played very fluently, very quickly, and solved all his problems. Gelfand pressed but didn't really get very far at all. So all square after 4 games. I'm rather enjoying the psychological nuances of this match. Perhaps it's not to everyone's taste, but I'm sure it's going to explode soon. See you later. Bye.